Okay, this is Andrew's Automotive Archaeology, and I wanted to do a quick follow-up video from yesterday. I don't know if anybody's watched that, but it is I found these film strips from John Deere, and what they are is they are marketing materials, dealer training, that sort of thing, and it's to familiarize their dealers with their products coming out. And they would have come with a record, and an LP of some kind, and I've actually got a player that has film strip and the record playing capability, so that's probably what they would have all watched these on. But anyway, I kind of made an offhand comment about one of them saying, it's in kind of bad condition. I wonder if it's nitrocellulose. I should set it on fire and find out. And I thought I'd do a quick follow-up on that because nitrocellulose has kind of an interesting history. It was discovered in the 1840s by a Swiss chemist who, and I'm sure his wife absolutely loved this. He was working in his kitchen, and he spilled nitric acid and sulfuric acid on the kitchen table, and he grabbed the closest thing to wipe it up, which happened to be a cotton apron, and he took this acid-soaked apron and he hung it over his stove to dry, and it dried, and then it caught fire. And he was astute enough that he realized what he had discovered, and he collaborated with some other European scientists who were already working on a similar thing, and they created what the most common name is gun cotton. And it's, the acid reacts with the cotton and it creates the nitrocellulose, and it is a highly flammable, very volatile substance that is used in munitions, primers, fuses, that sort of thing. It was, I think, first used in the American Civil War in incendiary shells, because once it starts on, it's very easy, burns very easily, and it's very difficult to put out. I think you could submerge it in water and it would still burn. It's a lot like magnesium in that respect. So, given this history, the budding film industry in the United States decided that it was a wonderful substance to use as a basis for film. So you can see where this is going. And it's a separate process. It uses the gun cotton. They use some other materials in there to create the film out of it, but it still has the same properties as gun cotton. Fairly highly flammable, highly unstable, difficult to put out. With predictable results, the United States has a very limited, most of the film history before 1915 or so is just simply gone. There were a number of very high-profile fires in the 19-teens. I think Universal had one, and they lost pretty much everything up to that point. Edison had one. There were a number of other warehouse companies around the United States that stored film that burned, because very little was known about how to store it. We know now how to store it. You keep the temperature down and so forth, and it makes it a little less volatile. It is also it also deteriorates, and it gives our film archivists and preservationists fits, because it basically turns to a powder, a very flammable powder. And so you can imagine an archivist trying to save a film, by scanning individual frames with its deteriorating and being covered in flammable powder. So, it has its issues that continue. That continue even now, and it was also used extensively in the medical industry for X-rays. So X-ray film is also nitrocellulose, and there was a very high-profile fire at the Cleveland Clinic in 1929, and I want to say 120 or 130 people died, but about half of them didn't die from the fire. Because the smoke, nobody really noticed the fire right away, because I think it was in a vault or something, or a semi-secured room, and the smoke got into the ventilation system, and one of the components of the smoke from nitrocellulose is cyanide. So there are people just kind of keeled over dead sitting at their desk, never realized what happened to them. So that was another huge issue with nitrocellulose. So it's a very dangerous, highly volatile substance. And it wasn't even knowing that, it wasn't until the 1950s that it was replaced by celluloid, which is a pretty benign, stable, archivally stable substance, relatively so. But I looked these up, and these are from the 60s, so these are going to be celluloid. They're not nitrocellulose. So, but I do have some other records from Ford, that similar thing, dealer training materials and product information that was sent to the dealers from the 1930s and 1940s, and they would have also had film strips with them, and I have yet to find any film strips. But there may very well be some in there, so who knows? I may be calling the hazmat team at some point. But anyway, thanks again for watching.